Yeah, can you all see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for that. Welcome once again to today's webinar organized by the International Community for Young Researchers and Innovators in Africa, popularly known as ICoRA, at Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, UM6P, located in different places in Morocco, in Canada, in France. Yeah, UM6P is really growing. Yeah, so this webinar was in collaboration with student organization leadership and engagement, known as SOUL at UM6P. So today's webinar is basically to discuss about UM6P PhD application and not also limiting it to UM6P ecosystem. Yeah, so I'm by name Christiana Tilope-Oyewale, and I am one of the coordinator alongside with Samuel Kubina Jesse. So I'm going to introduce you to our speakers for today because we want to respect time. We don't want to delay you unnecessarily. Yeah, so the first person I'm going to introduce to you today, I will just call their first name. Each speaker will pronounce their name correctly when they are presenting. So Safa is a third year PhD student at Geology and Sustainable Mining Institute at UM6P. Our research interest is basically on life cycle assessment applied to the mining sector. So today she will present ICoRA to you. Then the next speaker after her is Dr. Yaya, who recently graduated from the College of Computing at UM6P. His research interest is basically on the intersection of machine learning and wireless communication for localization in IoT. So today is going to talk about why and what is PhD training, the journey of being a PhD student. Yeah, so after Dr. Yaya will be another version of Yaya. So he is a second year PhD student at the School of Collective Intelligence at UM6P. His research interest is individuals' intuitions about what group know, believe, or prefer. So in today's webinar, he's going to present on preparing a research proposal and for interview, which is very important for being a PhD student. And the last speaker for today will be Abdullahi, a second year PhD student at Africa Business School at UM6P. His research interest is strategic management, where he currently explores how informal institutions shaped competitive behavior within informal markets. So today is going to tell you about UM6P offer for PhD position. Basically, is going to use ABS, that's Africa Business School, as a case study. So after the fourth speaker, we will go into question and answer. So you can start by noting down your question, either on the chat or maybe you write your question down. Then after all the presentation, we will now take the Q&A. Thank you. So over to the first speaker. I will stop sharing now.
Hi, can you hear me? I hope that you're
Yes,
hearing me
please.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. So hi everyone, I'm Safa Rashid, PhD student at UM6P, as Christiana has introduced us all before. And I'm here to tell you about the ICoRA Club. What does it stand for? Why? What does ICoRA serves, and so on. So ICoRA first is the international community for young researchers and innovators in Africa. I'm trying to move. But it works. So the story of us, where does ICoRA come from? The idea of ICoRA comes from the idea of universities that is here as the UM6P is empowering minds, but like usually the universities just empower minds, but not connecting them. So ICORA is here to connect these minds to solve Africa's most important challenges. Um, ICORA Club ambitions is to contribute to the university attractiveness and to bring different disciplines and nationalities together to advance implementable research and innovative solutions of the continent's most urgent challenges. Well, the community is open to researchers at different levels from other African research and development institutions to contribute to bridging the gap between academia and industry to promote mentorship, relations, and professional networking through its platform. So basically, we're having four pillars. The first is networking. And by networking, we try to connect minds from all over Africa, not just UM6P, not just Morocco, but the whole continent. We have also the access of mentorship, as we have multiple profiles of researchers, like from undergrads, PhDs, postdocs, uh, either in our boards or also to the other profiles connected to this network, also as professors and many other researchers' profiles. And what is our aim is to try to generate an impact by solving Africa's most important challenges. So within this network, the highest aim is to do a diagnosis of what's missing, what do we need in Africa, what does the continent needs from these researchers, entrepreneurs, and innovators, and we're trying by creating all these synergies to solve these problems or challenges. And by the end, we will have a consortia of experts and consultants all over the continent. So let me walk you through what was our previous events. We had an event about the PhD journey where we invited postdocs and multiple profiles to tell us about the PhD journey, what are the challenges, um, what do you need to know to be prepared for this journey. So it was a very good opportunity for undergrads and also like for the PhD students in their first or early years to discover the roller coaster ahead. We had also a live webinar on simulation using R. It was provided by a PhD student at the university in the context of exchanging knowledge, exchanging skills. So she had this knowledge and she shared it with the whole university through this webinar. Also here, you can see the research life balance workshop where we invited Professor Joanne and also the the psychiatrists of the university to talk about either the effective planning and stress management, and also the mental health, why it matters while you're walking through this journey. Also, we had an event on called the 500 Minutes of Collective Intelligence to solve water sustainability issues and food security issues in Africa. And we had also a webinar where we shared tips on the international opportunities, conferences, which happily we had many good feedbacks received by the previous participants, which made it like a very concrete impact of our events. Here you can see some photos from our previous events. And let me present to you like briefly the board where you can find, like, as I explained before, many profiles from the first year of masters, PhD students, postdocs, professors, and staff also from Seoul, which is the entity that direct and manage the activities of clubs within the university. And here you can find all the partners of ICoRA with whom we are collaborating right now to achieve our vision. I hope this was brief and introductive for our club. And please feel free whenever you have a question, just let me know by the end, as Christiana mentioned before, and we will be happy to answer it and clarify any inquiries that you might have. Thank you so much, and I will pass the floor to my other colleagues to continue the discussion. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Safa. So I'll talk about the PhD training, right? So let me just share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes, please.
Très bien, très bien.
Okay. Give me a second. Okay.
Are you there? Can't
Yeah,
see your
yeah, I'm coming. Just give me a few seconds.
Okay.
Okay, can you still see my screen? Hello? Can you still see
Not
my
yet.
screen?
Not yet.
No, we can see your screen.
Okay.
Okay, your screen is, oops,
Okay.
has gone again.
Yep. Sure.
Do you want to share that with me? Maybe I can help you to
No,
share.
sorry, I'm coming. It's
Okay.
okay. Yeah. Just see some issues here. Okay. So, one moment. I'll do something else. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think you can see it now. Is it
Yes, we
okay
can.
now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about PhD training. And again, I apologize for these issues. So, yeah, that's the mysterious long haul adventure that makes people say, for instance, will anyone do uh, why would anyone do this to themselves? Talking about PhD, of course. So today we are going to try to demystify. Maybe you are not all familiar with what the PhD training really is. So try to familiarize with it. Starting by, for instance, getting an overview of big misconceptions about PhD training. So you might have heard that a PhD is just for academia, right? So that is common things we hear from people like when they are referring to PhD. So actually, it's not just about academia. When you do PhD, you can end up in industry, in consulting, even in entrepreneurship. We also have this second point, which is like research. PhD is just about research. But actually, it's about learning to survive on caffeine. That the thing for those who already engage in PhD, they know about it. But most importantly, it's about solving problems and becoming an expert in a specific field. The third point is like we say that PhD students are lonely, like doing PhD involve a lonely life. Well, yes, but also no. Uh, like it's not necessarily a lonely life, but since you can build networks, you can collaborate globally, you build a network actually. So, what is a PhD specifically? So, it is not it's not just about studying, because when you talk about PhD, it's involved training and everything, but you have to know that it's not just about training. You are about to create knowledge, especially new knowledge, because yeah, in your specific field you already have some base knowledge, but doing PhD is getting at the top and creating something new. It's also not about memorizing, to get good, smart, and everything. You have to learn your lessons, try to, sometimes get things by heart. But in PhD, forget about that. It's about learning how to think critically and solve problems, like eh, being in front of totally new scenarios and trying to come up with, a solution. So it's not a solo mission, as I said previously about the loneliness of the PhD journey. So you have to collaborate actually, and you have a network of researchers on which you can rely, and you sometimes you beg your supervisor for approval. Of course, that's also part of the reality in the PhD journey. The next point is, so we know what a PhD is. Now, why will someone do a PhD, right? So, doing PhD is to become an expert in your field, let's say, and that can give you credibility in your specific domain. Also, it opens doors. So I was saying that PhD is not just about academia. So it opens career doors in industry, government, internship. So basically, PhD goes everywhere. And think problem solving and building independent thinking abilities. This is kind of superpowers. So this is something PhD allow you to get. So it might be a reason for you also to get into this journey. So at the end, if like you love learning and enjoying pushing the boundaries of knowledge, so you have to go for it. But if you just want to have a fancy degree for LinkedIn, for instance, or maybe just have the title doctor in every visual you have, maybe you should think again. And the timing is also as important as the reason and the rationale behind going into the PhD journey. So you need to find the right time to start your journey. Not like everyone, but you need to do a work on yourself to see, okay, when should I really start doing when should I get into this journey? So, for instance, if you are fresh out of university, okay, you might say that you still have student energy. Maybe it is the right time for you to go. But this assumes that before that point, you already have this ambition of doing PhD. You're not going to decide it just at the end of your study. So, if you're doing so, maybe you are getting biased, maybe you should really reconsider your choice and everything. Another timing can be like after you work, you can go into industry, you work, and at some point you say, okay, maybe it's time to get a PhD. So yeah, you'll be an experienced PhD student, but research also need experience. Okay. Um, so yeah, it can be also for career shift purpose. Like at some point in your career, you decided, okay, I'm going to, maybe what I'm doing now is I need to get more. So at this point, you need to go and yeah, so you can jump in the journey of the PhD. Just to make sure that we're on the same page, are you seeing my slides? I mean, slide 5. Hello,
Yes.
anyone around? Okay,
See,
just to make sure that, yeah, I'm not cut. Okay, then where do you do the PhD? Like, if you decide to go for it, where are you going to do it? That's also as important as the other points. So this is about finding the right research institution in which you will conduct your research. So you need to set your goals. Everything is about setting goals, actually. So like for instance, for choosing a university, you have to consider different points. Doing a PhD is about building some expertise in a specific domain. So you should pick a university with strong research in that field. So if you pick another university just because of funding and everything, okay, for the funding, yeah, it will be all right. But how about building the right expertise? So that also matters, because if you are a PhD, you are called an expert in a certain domain. But if your training does not follow, that's another problem. You can get lost at some point. Choosing the right advisor also matters, and the advisor is tied to the institution. So this is part of the same ecosystem. And yeah, funding funding is also important, because a PhD is not meant to be a survival challenge, because for research already you have a lot to do. So if funding become another problem, so things can become a mess quickly. So funding is also important. So you combine these different keys together and to choose your institution. I think next our last speaker will present you the research institution of UM6P as an example of research institution. But of course, it again, it has to be aligned with your career goals and your expectation regarding your PhD studies. And another point people look at is the international outlook. How the institution will allow you to have global exposure. So this is also important, because if you get a PhD, you go international. But if you have to go international after a PhD, it means that you have to start the process even during your training. So this is also important, and some important criteria to look for when choosing an institution. So for who is the PhD? Who should go into this journey? So we've seen different points regarding PhD. So, like, if you have a curious mind, like you love discovering things that no one else has, that might be a great point to go. Again, problem solvers, because in PhD research, there's no answer. You have a problem, you need to find out what might be the answer. If for that, you need to build problem solving skills. And so if you have these abilities, yeah. So another point is resilience, because the journey is not a straight line. Like many industry, but in research, it's more accentuated. Like you start by a research proposal. I think that will be the topic of the next talk. You start by a proposal, then you start the journey, do experiment, failures, setbacks, sometimes few a peak of success, then you fall again, and you'll be taking a lot of coffees to to compensate. But yeah, that's the journey. So you need to have this resilience in mind when starting. So when you should not consider doing a PhD? Like, I think I already mentioned that if you just want to have the title, no, you are not interested in the research green, let's say, just want this title. Maybe if that's the case, you should reconsider your choice. if you hate independent work and thinking deeply. Yep, because these are part of the journey. So you have to make sure that these are aligned with you. Also, like if you believe a PhD will automatically make you rich, I think it can be a mistake. It's not that straightforward. It will not make you automatically rich, at least not directly in some way, but this is not the straight line. Okay. What's the real value of a PhD? So this is kind of synthesis. We talk about this expertise, you know. You build knowledge in a very specific domain, and you work at the edge of the knowledge in your domain. So at the end of the day, you become the good person in this specific area. And along the journey, you will build some skills that go beyond research. So like after your research, you are not only meant to continue like in the fields you study, because you build other skills that allow you to be, you can fit anywhere, but let's see. But of course you have your expertise, but you have this skill set that go beyond research, that can be applied in other domain and disciplines. Like if you build critical thinking abilities, this is not only for research, can be in any aspect of life and working industry. Talking about industry, we have career boost. Like after you get a PhD, like what or people mostly know is, okay, PhD will get me straight to academia. I'll be doing research and maybe teaching and everything. But we also have industry, because doing research is about creating value. So we do not create value only in academia. In academia, we do research so that the value can be created in industry. So you can end up in industry, be part of policy making. You can turn your findings into startups. Again, some institution helps in for this. And another point is like you have to know that PhD holders are in demand. Of course, we also heard that PhD holders are jobless, but the reality is that we have demand. There are a lot of demand in terms of PhD. I think when you finish your study, you also have some standing, some expectation. So that's why some offers might not interest you. But in general, know that PhD holders are in demand. Last point I want to mention here is personal growth. Like when you achieve, when you finish this journey, you prove to yourself that you tackle independent, complex challenges. Like it boosts your confidence. And maybe even if at the starting the title doctor wasn't a goal, but at the end of the day, when they give you this title, it automatically adds some layers of responsibilities to your journey. So you should feel okay. You feel the titles, and you start acting in accordance to the title. So in terms of personal growth, you have a lot to gain. So to conclude, you have to know that the PhD journey is very tough, but rewarding, also exhausting and exciting, all this together at once. So it's a melting pot of all excitement, exhaustment, and everything. So if you love discovery, problem solving, and pushing your own limits, I insist on pushing your own limits. Yeah, it's an incredible journey for you. So if you are not, if you do not drink coffee, maybe you should find something that will help you, because you cannot just do this with water. But is it worth it at the end? So the answer is that depends on you. There's no general answer to that. So everyone has to go through the different criteria we talked about and decide at the end if it's worth it. So, but if you sign up, if you decided to go on this journey, as I said, stock up on coffee, and most importantly, befriend other PhD students, and yeah, you have to enjoy the ride. So a note for you is like to retain that PhD isn't just about knowledge; it's about resilience, curiosity, and shaping the future. Yeah, because you are working at the edge of the knowledge in your domain. So as an additional readings, you can go, you can have look for these books. They can give you a detailed overview of what the PhD journey entails. So thank you for your attention. That's the end of my presentation. If you have any question, I think Christiana said that will be at the end. So I will be around waiting for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Yaya. This was a great presentation. I really enjoyed the parts where you went through the myths about PhD students, especially the fact that we make money, apparently. Yeah, I can confirm that we don't. If anything, PhD is just definitely going to make you automatically poor, not automatically rich. But yeah, so thanks, Yaya. And I really liked also the fact that you put a lot of emphasis on the fact that a PhD is not an individual work, you work with the community. And so it's very good to try to build connections with different people and work with minds that don't think alike. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to go into my presentation. I hope you guys can see the screen. Can you guys see it? Can I get a confirmation?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So I'll be talking about the research proposal, probably the most boring thing I could talk about. And I know it's getting pretty late and you guys just really want to go sleep, so I'll try to make it quick. And also most of this stuff you already probably know about. So, and it's on UM6P's website. I'm just really going to try to give you some advice on what maybe you should put in there and what you shouldn't put in there based on my experience. And I can tell you something, I want to say this first. My research proposal was absolutely terrible, and it's definitely not what got me into the PhD. If I can give you advice on what to do if you really want to get into a PhD, sometimes it's not really the documents that you submit with, it's finding somebody, generally a researcher, a professor, that happens to be really interested in the same themes that you want to work on, and contacting them and telling them, hey, I want to do a PhD with you, and that kind of stuff. So it's, at the end of the day, it's also just networking. That's how you mostly get into a PhD from my point of view. But let's forget about that, and I'll try to give you the best advice I can for the research proposal. Now, this framework is very specific to UM6P, I have to say. This is what they ask for in most departments, I think. This is what they asked for when I had to apply, at least. So it's 4 sections. The first one is a scope. Second one is research problems and hypotheses. I was supposed to use animations. Yeah, there you go. Research problems and hypotheses, and then theoretical field of investigation, and then potential benefits to UM6P, Morocco, and Africa. And although, these slides were from last year, I had to recycle them, but at least I changed the dates, which is something. And I introduced some fun little stories in there. So let's go through the scope. Okay, what is the scope? The scope is basically you trying to define the boundaries and the extent of your research. What are you going to be working on and what are you not going to be working on? Which is what I just said, specific boundaries and research objectives. So you're trying to just give an overview of the topic. It's a brief introduction, what you're going to be working on, maybe the target population, maybe some detail about the context a bit, you know, maybe a bit of literature, just citing the foundational work in your specific domain, etc. That's what you could do, but just try to be specific, really, you know. And that's something that I give you this advice because I know that now when I look at my research proposal, it was mostly terrible because it wasn't specific. It was too vague. And I know that's okay, you know, because in the beginning we don't really know what to do. And we're just waiting for, you know, our PhD supervisor to guide us. We were sort of blind and you're just, you know, hoping for somebody to guide you. So it's okay to, you know, you're not going to necessarily end up working on exactly what you say in your research proposal, but at least, you know, in the beginning, make sure that it's not too vague so that it's not like overreaching. And I'm going to go through a little story. Let's introduce first this character. I'm going to call him Ryan, and I hope that nobody in this call is called Ryan because I'm about to just keep insulting him for the next like 10 minutes. So this is Ryan. He's also trying to apply to a PhD, and this is him trying to write up a research proposal. And the first thing he claims in his research proposal is that his study will cure cancer, it will end climate change, and this will solve world hunger. That's a terrible thing to do. You know, you know, the jury, it's a bunch of, well, average or very smart people. And so you don't want to be saying stuff like that. You don't want to be overreaching in your scope. You don't want to be saying that your research is going to solve world hunger, you know. That's something that's very ambitious, and it's very good to have ambition, but it has to be calculated and, you know, not just don't be overreaching, please, okay? Just aim for something that's reasonable, be ambitious. It's great to have ambition, but just try to stay grounded a bit and not try to go for something that's overreaching. That's the first piece of advice I can give you for the scope. I'll move straight into the research problems and hypotheses. Honestly, for this section, you know, I think it's pretty clear what you should do. So I just decided that I'll give you an example of what it might look like. This is an example of what a research question would look like. And it's, does the use of social media immediately before bedtime negatively affect the quality of sleep in young adults? It's a pretty simple question, but at the same time, you know, you can clearly see that it's broad because I don't really operationalize any concepts. I use of social media, whatever that means, and then quality of sleep. How are you going to measure that? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. This is supposed to be in the beginning. It's supposed to be broad, so it's okay for those variables to not be operationalized. But then when you move into the hypothesis, that's where you want to operationalize the variables that you have. So that's, I think, you know, a pretty decent research question. Then let's try to move on to the hypotheses. First one could be participants who use social media for more than 30 minutes before bedtime will report significantly poorer sleep quality than those who do not. Now I'm going into maybe a bit more of the details, and notice here that I'm putting in bold the dependent variable, which is in this case use of social media. You can measure it if you want to be more specific. You can say hours spent, you know, scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or whatever you guys do, and then sleep quality. You can find maybe also better metrics. I don't do sleep research, but you can probably find some better metrics for sleep quality. But the point I'm trying to make is that you need to make it clear what your dependence variable is, what your independence variable is, and also maybe your target population. In this case, I already talked about in the research question, so it's okay. And then second hypothesis could be, now this is a bit more specific. And if you read the initial research question, you wouldn't be able to guess this hypothesis, but that's okay because it's a bit more specific. You can say something like exposure to emotionally charged content, for example, the news, whatever, on social media before bed will result in higher sleep onset latency compared to neutral content. Now, sleep onset latency means the transition from wakefulness to sleep. That's what it means. I know that's what we like to do, I guess, at the end of the day. You know, when you're a PhD, you like to use fancy words to describe simple things. I don't know why we do that, you know, but we do. So I don't know why academics are like that, but they are. So don't blame that on me. But I'm going to move on. And then theoretical field of investigation. Yeah, pretty simple. Here you want to establish the academic and theoretical context for your research. And so let's go back to this example. You want to talk about the fields and the theories and the frameworks that's, you know, are going to be the foundation of your work, or that you're going to challenge. I don't know, maybe some of you are really ambitious and you're planning to challenge some foundational theories in your domains. That's also great. But just to give you an example, so let's say this is my research question. If I'm trying the field that I'm trying to work in this case, I'm looking at use of social media and quality of sleep. So I'll be probably working in experimental psychology. If I want to run experiments and manipulate variables, I'll probably be doing behavioral science. Yeah. Somebody's having their mic on. Could you please mute yourself? Thanks. Okay. And then, yeah, I was potential fields in this case would be behavioral science, experimental psychology, sleep research, if that even exists. But you get the idea. You want to talk about the fields that relate to your work, and that will be used as the basis for, coming up with your work. Also, the theories. I don't know if there are some theories. In that case, also there is probably, I know about the blue light theory or whatever it's called, but it says that the more time you spend looking at blue lights before you sleep, the more it's going to impact the quality of your sleep, and it's a negative correlation or relationship, obviously. And so you want to talk about the theories that are already existing and that's somehow are related to the work that you do. And then also the frameworks, you could talk about different frameworks. In that case, I guess there is something they call cognitive behavioral approach to insomnia or something like that. And it says that the more cognitive activity that you go through, before you sleep, the more likely that it's going to impact negatively the quality of your sleep. So that's what this, section really means. By the way, I want to go back to this section. And here I want to mention something because you see in the way that they structure the questions at UM6P when they tell you to come up with the research proposal, they don't have a separate section for the methods, but I guess you could either include them in this section with the research problems and hypotheses. If you don't, then you could probably have, I think it's okay for you to have a separate section for the methods because the methods are super important. And in the methods, you need to be describing the tools that you're going to use. What kind of data are you going to collect? Are you going to collect any data? Is it primary or secondary data? Are you going to run experiments? What kind of experiments? How are you planning to run them? What is your target population? What is your sample size? Blah, blah, blah. All that sort of stuff is super important. And so you should try to include it. Obviously, again, at this point, you probably don't have a clear idea of what the methods are going to be for the research that you want to conduct, but at least try to give them something, so that they know that you try to put some efforts into thinking about that. Okay, perfect. So I already discussed this. Yeah, okay, for the theoretical field of investigation, you also want to include a section trying to, highlight your contribution to the field, because I guess that's what we're all supposed to do as PhDs. We're supposed to contribute to something. And again, your contribution can be either providing, just experimental data in a field where experimental data is rare. It can be theoretical where you just expand the theory, or it can be something where you challenge the theory. There are a bunch of different contributions, and you just want to think of, what you think you can contribute to the domain or to the field, and try to articulate it in a simple and nice way. Now, the last section, they call it, this is very specific to UM6P, by the way, but in us, they have 1,000 PhDs, and they pay each one like $1,000. You do the maths, it's a lot of money. So they want to get some of that money back, which is like fair enough. I understand the idea behind this. And so you have to convince them that you're going to somehow give benefits to UM6P Morocco and Africa through your work, I guess. And so in this section, I would consider trying to talk about the impact that your research has, considering the context. What I mean by the context is the context at UM6P, but most importantly, the context as Morocco and Africa. And so you can think of the problems that we have in Morocco and Africa. And that shouldn't be a problem. Well, ironically, because we have so many of them. So it should be a pretty simple and easy exercise to think of problems we have in Morocco and Africa and how your research could contribute to solving those problems. And then I'm going to move straight to the interview. This is something that we recommended. This was Abdullahi actually who recommended it last year first, and then I also seconded that. but it was just the idea of having slides to illustrate your ideas. And by slides, I mean literally something like this. Look, I'm putting like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words in a slide. It's just to illustrate my ideas. You can have notes, you know, on the side, especially if you're doing it online and, you know, at this point and you have GPT.
Sorry, Yahya.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, I don't know if it's the case only for me, but we cannot see your slides anymore.
Ooh, okay. Can somebody else confirm? If not, I'll just reshare my screen.
Yeah, it's not only from my end. We cannot all see.
Okay, great.
I'm seeing
I can
the
see.
slides.
Actually,
Okay,
I guess
thanks.
it's on their
Thanks.
side. You can see.
Let's.
Yeah, so
okay.
we can see
Yeah.
now. It's back.
Now it's
Okay,
visible.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect, of course. Okay, so I was just saying that I recommend, it's not an obligation. I don't think it's an obligation, but I just highly recommend using slides to illustrate your ideas. It helps guide you, you know, throughout the process, because if you don't, and if you're, especially if you're somebody like me, I tend to go on tangents a lot. So I'll be talking about something and then all of a sudden I'm talking about something that's completely unrelated. And so the slides are there to guide you, but also to guide the people that are in your interviewing committee, so that they don't get confused at some points. And they, you know, when you put like slides like these, it's very easy to remember the ideas that you put in your slides. If of course you don't put like, you know, 2,000 words in your slides, as long as you don't do that, you should be fine. So try to use slides to illustrate your ideas, because that's generally a good idea. And then also for the interview, very important, practice critiquing and questioning your own proposal. I think that's really important. Your work, your future work, my work, everybody's work, even your supervisor, your future supervisor, their wife and their mother, and whoever you want, has limitations. You know, our work has limitations because we're human and we're not perfect and we have limitations. And so I think it's a good idea for you to try to think of those limitations and question them, because if you don't, the people at your interviewing community, they will question them. And it's just, you're not going to be able to respond to their critiques. And, you know, some other candidates might. And so, you know, they might be selected because of that. So I think it's a good idea for you to do this exercise. You know, now we use GPT for all sorts of reasons. I think this is a good reason to use GPT, actually. Is you can literally, when you come up with the research proposal, you can write a prompt and say, you can try to do some prompt engineering. I'm not very good at that, but you could look it up and say, imagine that you are you know, in my PhD interviewing community, and I want you, for this specific conversation, to play the role of the devil's advocate and to tell me exactly why my work is terrible and why it should not be conducted and why there are so many limitations to it. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but you get the point. Maybe try to use GPT to get some ideas of what might be potential critiques. Also try to use GPT to get an idea of what might be some potential questions that you are going to get asked by the people in your PhD committee, interviewing committee. I think that's really important. You know, because it might be the case, you know, you can't completely discard the fact that when you're doing your PhD interview, your committee is using GPT and telling it, can you come up with questions that I can ask to this candidate? And so if you do that beforehand, that's like 150 IQ move, and you can answer to their critiques beforehand. So there you go. Thank you, later. And then, okay, I think that's my last slides. I'm going to do a stupid comic again, but this is Ryan again being stupid and thinking that his research has no limitations because he thinks that it's perfect just like him. But this is, you know, Mr. Random and average, probably. That's what they look like, you know, the people in your PhD interviewing committee. That's the average, what the average person looks like. I'm sorry, it's not an insult, just a fact. But they're going to say, but what about? And they're going to start talking a lot. And, you know, Ryan would just put his finger in his ears. And that's generally, it's not a very good attitude if you're trying to get into a PhD. So the committee will not appreciate that a lot. And Ryan will probably not get into a PhD. So my advice, don't be like Ryan if you want to get into a PhD. I guess that's it for me. Oh, look, I have another slide, I'm sorry. So Ryan is like, pick me. But remember, we have 63 people here. Well, you exclude like 10 people that are already PhDs, maybe. 53 of you, they're all going to be in that situation. You want to be picked, you know, as the the candidate that's going to go into the PhD. So I think it's really important to sort of show in a subtle way without being like, without boasting or bragging, without saying that I'm the best researcher and I was born to do this job. And, when I came out of my, I don't know, whatever, I'm not going to say that. You can't just say, I knew that I wanted to do a PhD since I was like 5. Don't start saying stuff like that. Well, maybe if it's true, then say it, and because it's probably going to be authentic, but just don't make it up, okay? If it's authentic, then fair enough. You say, I'm trying to say, be authentic and try to subtly show how the skills that you have, how your personality and different aspects of your identity, of who you are as a person, how that makes you a good candidate and how that differentiates you from other candidates. So, because the committees, they're not going to say that, but when you're going to be doing the interview and they're having like, I don't know, 200 candidates to choose from, the question that's going to be going on inside their brains is what makes you so special. And we could have a philosophical debate about what's, are we special or not? I'm not going to go through that. I think that we're all unique, which is a paradox, but just try to be authentic and try to show why your skills, your personality, and everything that makes you yourself is going to be advantageous for you applying to this PhD position. That's it for me. Thank you very much. And I'll be happy to answer your questions later. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Yaya. I guess I will go next. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can perfectly.
Okay, great. First, I would like to say thank you once again to all our previous speakers. They have really done great. I will start with Dr. Yaya, who gave us the idea of what is PhD, why PhD, then how do you do a PhD. And talking about my dear friend Yaya, who also walk us through ways to get into a PhD. What do you need? And how do you make it easy into getting into a PhD program? And with Safar as well, who introduced us to collaborate with like minds on research and everything. Just like Dr. Yaya mentioned earlier, PhD journey can be lonely, but because of this kind of network association that we have, just like ICoRA and majority of them like it, you can always connect with people. So I wouldn't want to waste much of your time because our time is fast spent already. We have learned about those 3 things I mentioned earlier, but now let us apply. Let us apply. So I will start by sharing my screen. Kindly let me know when you can see my screen. Excuse me once again. Yeah. Can we see my screen?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Okay, great. So why am I showing us this screen? First, this is the platform for the Center for Doctoral Studies at the UM6P. So this is the platform that contains all PhD program that is currently enrolled at the Mohammed VI Polytechnic University. So to start with, I am a PhD student at the African Business School. So kindly forgive me if I'm not able to touch all other programs. I will just give you a brief of these faculties. So basically at the moment, there are 6 doctoral programs that are of access through the UM6P key clusters. The first one is in economics, political science and global studies, then behavioral science and social science. Then we have PhD in science, technology, and engineering. Then in business, which is where I am. and lastly, in medical biology and medical sciences. So I would say categorically that each of these clusters have their own specific application styles. I mean, a little bit of similarities here and there, but they have some of their uniqueness to them. And like I said earlier, I'm going to talk about my school, which is the Africa Business School, and I'm going to walk you through the school as a whole and how you get in here. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Then I'll share another slide where I talk about the school as a whole. So kindly let me know when you can see that slide, please. Very sorry. It seems like I'm a old man today. Okay, great. So let me know when you can see this.
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, great. So basically, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be talking about the African Business School. And if you talk about one of the best business school in Africa and even the world today, you can say it without any doubt that African Business School is one of them. I'm going to give you the idea of the program, the phase, and how it looks like. So basically, the program is 4 years. So in the first year, you're expected to take courses on research methods, both quali, quanti, experimental method, and talk of any research methods that you might want to employ in your research studies. Then you have some research seminars, specialized course. And at the end of the first year, you're expected to have a manuscript submission. So one thing that is unique about Africa Business School here is the fact that at the end of your first year, which is what we prefer to call the pre-doctoral year. So you are going to have a qualifying exam, which means that you are not yet a doctoral student until you pass this qualifying exam. So after this qualifying exam, you take exam on all the courses that you have taken, then you will defend your oral, the manuscript that you have submitted, you defend it orally. This manuscript could be a systematic literature review, a conceptual paper, or an empirical paper. So you're going to defend this, and currently at the moment, the fifth cohort, the pass mark for this qualifying exam in total should be a grade of 70%. So if you don't have 70%, believe you me, it is straight out of the program. So in your second year, you are going to also have some specialized courses. So based on your area of interest. So equally, you have some elective courses, which you may take or you may not. Then again, you keep on developing your manuscript, probably the one you submitted in the first year or a new study that you already started. Then in the third year, you continue like that. Also, in the second year, permit me to say this as well, it is not like you're going to have an exam in this case, but you're going to have an oral presentation to defend your manuscript of the second year. Then the third year, you have a manuscript again, then moving to the fourth year. However, for you to have this title, just like Dr. Yaya mentioned, the requirement of ABS is such that you have at least 2 publications in the CABS ranking journals. So for those of us that are not familiar with the CABS ranking, it is called Chartered Association of Business Schools ranking, which ranks journals based on 4 stars, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So the top of the rank is 4-star, and at our level, at the PhD student level, we're expected to publish at the minimum of 3, which is a very strong requirement. So you want to put this as part of the reasons to consider if you're going to apply for a PhD at ABS. Just like Dr. Ya mentioned again, I would like to make references to some of the points that have been said earlier, that PhD is not, you don't want to consider the fact that, okay, I just want to be called a doctor. If that is the reason, I need you to rethink again. So just like I have walked us through the structure of the program here, I am going to walk us through the application. So, sorry, I'm going to use the same slide that I used last year because it was informative enough, and I will say categorically that some of the people who attended this same session last year, they had a lot of benefit from it, and I can tell you we have some of them in the school currently. So if you have any question, please kindly listen to what I have to say for now. And if you have any question at the end, I'll be glad to give you my response. So basically, there are like 7 clusters at the African Business School, which includes organization, behavior, and leadership, marketing, finance, business economics, strategic management, which is my area of concentration, then entrepreneurship and innovation, we have business analytics and value network. Equally, we have hospitality management as well. We have some PhD student from the School of Hospitality and Business Management. So when Yaya talked about your research proposal earlier, I'll talk about this as well. One thing that ABS is particularly interested in, especially at the very moment, is in this 3 themes, which revolves around, first, sustainability, digital transformation, and complexity. So you want to make sure that you have a proposal that revolve around these things. However, every year things keep changing. So the year before, during my own cohort, what we were asked to do is for us to submit a research proposal without any topic. But the previous cohort, last year, the professors in the department, they introduced some topic. They gave suggestion of topics, and students are asked to prepare their research proposals based on these topics. So you might want to equally look at when ABS published their PhD call, there is always the topic around what the professors are interested in. So this is another way for you to know what to frame your research proposal on. But if not, if the professors didn't release topic, I will advise you to focus on any of these 3 themes: sustainability, digital transformation, and complexity. So what are the application stages? There are 4 main application stages. The first one is the online application. Then you have the online test, the interview, and the research assignment. So for the online application, has to do with submission of all the relevant documents. I believe you can still see my screen, right?
Yes, sir,
Yes.
we can.
Okay, great, thanks. So like I said, we have 4 main stages. The online application, where you submit all relevant documents, including your CVs, your proposals, your transcripts, and results. So basically, this is what the online application is all about. It will be published where you can submit all these things. Then the next one, which is the online test. I want to tell you, ABS is very open. They always give all candidates that apply the chance to write this test. So the moment you submit your application, be sure that you will have the chance to take the test. However, what does the test makes you? The test gives you the chance to proceed to the next stage. So because first, it is the result of this test that will be sent to each of the professors that are interested in your work. So I could remember during my own cohort, I think the passing grade was 60%. So if you have 60% in the overall test, then you might proceed to the next stage. When I said might, the reason is after the online test, after your result has been sent to the professors, they will now go through your proposals. So if they find out that your proposal is worthy, then they will invite you for the interview. So if it is not worthy, even if you have 60%, probably you might not. That is another probability. Maybe you might not. I don't have I'm not very sure about the right answers to this. So you want to make sure that your proposal is very strong. At the same time, you make sure that your online test, you perform very well there. So in terms, then after the interview, we have some people that we're giving the research assignment. For example, in my case, I had a research assignment after my interview, which I was asked to do within 24 hours. So I was given a paper and I was asked to critique the paper. Based on the paper, I was asked to submit another proposal. So these are the kind of things that comes with the research interview, and research assignment rather. In other cases, they might even ask you not to even write a research proposal, but rather to read a paper, critique the paper, and give your suggestions. So they might ask you some questions as regards the paper. So those are the things that comes with the research assignment. So like I said earlier, the online application has to do with documentations, your academic CV, written documents, certificates, statement of purpose, research proposals, letter of recommendation, and academic transcript. Just few things to touch here. Your written document is always a kind of publication sample if you have. So for example, if you have published 1 or 2 papers, you want to submit it as a written document, or if you have your master's thesis that you have done, even if it is not published, you can submit it, but make sure that this thing that you're submitting, it is very strong. So also, I think Yaya talked about the research proposal already. I don't want to spend time on that. Then the research proposal, the statement of purpose rather. One thing that I will only talk about in these two is the fact that it is always concise. So for example, in the case of statement of purpose, the maximum is 2 pages. So, I mean, the less, the better. You want to explain at least something very huge with little words. So the more you write, the more mistake that can be spotting from what you have written. So then in terms of the research proposal, as far as I know, ABS, you only have 3 pages. So you cannot do more than 3 pages, including the references. So then you have your letter of recommendation as well. Then for the online test, you have 5 tests basically. It always lasts for 67 minutes. And I can tell you categorically, this is a very intense test. It is very, very intense. I can tell you, I have some friends that took the test last year. I will tell you, it is not very easy, honestly. It is not very easy. So far, so good. Last year, I only saw one of the people that I know that had 58%. And imagine the cutoff mark as at last year was 70%. So you want to really, really prepare. You want to put in all your effort. And like I told you, ABS is actually very, very strong in terms of critics, in terms of what they expect from you. So if you really can't take it, the pressure, honestly, please think it twice before you apply to ABS. I can say this anywhere, anytime. So also, like I said, this test comprises of these things that I've mentioned here. You have the essays, you're going to write essays. Then you have the platform uses Test Gorilla. Then you have questions on logic, syllogism, attention to details, sitting arrangement, and career right. If you go to YouTube and put career right, this is the kind of YouTube channel that explain how you can solve this type of questions easily. Also, you can find Test Gorilla as well because the platform uses Test Gorilla. You can find the platform, you can subscribe because if you subscribe, the moment you are done with your exam, with your test, you will have your result. But if you don't, maybe you will not have your result. So this is the advantage when you subscribe to that platform already. I mean to Test Gorilla, after you are done with your exam, it gives you the result. So you know what is at stake. So for the interview, Yaya also mentioned some few things about it earlier, that it is best that you come to this interview with slide. What is the essence of this slide? It gives you the chance to take control of your own interview. You want to make sure that you don't go beyond what you want to say. If you don't have a slide, the thing that might probably happen when you don't have a slide is you talk about something that you don't want to talk about. And that could put you in problem whereby your interviewers are asking you questions about what you are not really prepared for. So the essence of having this slide is to guide what you want to be asked question on. So mostly it lasts for 30 minutes. If it is interesting to them, they will ask you more. And when it is interesting, when they ask you more, it is showing a high chance that, yes, we are very interested in you. We want to know more. But when it is very short, believe you me, it's a red flag. I can tell you that. So basically, what do you want to talk about? It has to do with your cluster that you have selected, then the motivation letter that you wrote. So why do you want to join ABS? What is your interest? Is it because you want to be called a doctor? Is it because you want to make money? So tell us the motivation for applying. Then you have questions around your research proposal. This is why if you have structured your own slide around the research proposal that you have written, every question will probably be on what you have put on your slide. So then you can also do well by reading about the interest of your interviewers, look up onto them, what are they working on, what are their area of interest at the moment, so that even when you present something and it is not in their area of interest, it is possible that you work things out and they really find interest in you, and it works out very fine for you. So an advice, show great enthusiasm for research. Basically, PhD is about research. Just like Dr. Yaya said earlier, you want to do a PhD, it means you want to identify a problem and you're saying that I am not stopping until I solve this problem. So this is the idea of PhD. You have to be very stubborn. You have to be obstinate. So then for the research assignment, like I said, in my case, I was given this question. I was given a paper and I was asked 3 questions. What are the research questions? Because the research question in the paper given to me were not explicit. They were not explicit. The paper never mentioned this is the research question that we're working on. So they want me to deduce what the research question the paper was talking about. Then they equally want me to state the main argument of the paper. Then I was asked to give a counter argument for this paper, and I was asked to write a research proposal. Even after I've submitted a research proposal, they asked me to write a 1-pager research proposal based on these based on the critiques that I've made about this paper. And one interesting thing about this paper that was given to me is the fact that I really didn't know anything about this field of research that was given to me. I have never read it before. And as at the time when I did my interview, I know nothing about GPT. So it was really strenuous for me, and I have 24 hours. In fact, it was on a Friday. I remember vividly, I was asked to send my feedback within 24 hours. And I had to send an email saying, Prof, is the next 24 hours the next working day? The shock of my life was when I received my feedback saying the next 24 hours will be on Saturday morning. So in academia, we work 24/7. So that is another thing that you want to put at the back of your mind as a PhD student. You go on vacation and you're still thinking about your research. So I think, this is where I'm going to stop. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any question, I'll be glad to answer you. Thank you very much. Christiana, Samuel, are you
Thank
guys
you
there?
very much, Abdullahi.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you all our presenters and our doctors who have found time to really share this classic information with you. And to personally, I'm participating in this. So immediately Abdullahi said that you have to already have an account. I just created my Gorilla account. So I just created my Gorilla account. So just create the account. Immediately they say it, just take the action they are proposing, and then it's going to be amazing for you. So we had a question and answers question. So if anybody has a question, you can either raise your hand or write in the comment section. If you have a question, you can either raise your hand or write in the comment section. So there is a question from Sama, which is saying, please, when is the application for ABS and SCI? When is the application for ABS and SCI?
For SCI, maybe I'm not able to answer that, but for ABS, it is likely to come out early June or middle of June. Yeah. Normally, it's always around this time of the year, but yeah, this year it is a little bit delayed. But I believe because the academic calendar always starts in October, so it is either early June or middle of June. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Dr. Yaya, SCI. You have any idea or not yet?
Well, not really, but I guess normally it's also similar enough to APS. I think in my case, the application deadline was in June, and I took the interview maybe in June or July, and then you know whether you're accepted or not in August. But that was back in my case, which was 2 years ago. For this year, I'm not sure what the dates are going to be, or if they're even going to be to open up any positions. So just keep checking the websites, and maybe you can send an email to the to the PhD coordinator or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Somebody is asking, can they apply without a master's for the PhD, like the direct one that they do in US?
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
so because one of the requirements here is that you have a master's degree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Also, maybe the person has an engineering degree that the person does not consider that it's a master degree. So with engineering degree, for instance, you can also do PhD in some program in UM6P. So
Great. Thank you, doctor.
yeah.
Eric, please, you can open your microphone and speak.
All right, thank you so much for the insightful information you've given to us. My question has to do with how do we create the gorilla test? How do we subscribe to the gorilla test? And in addition to that, I hold a master degree in business finance. Do I stand a chance to do the program in the business? I think management, PhD in management and organizational science. Can I do that? Looking at my background in thank you.
I guess the question will be directed to me. So basically, I will start by the second question. I didn't really catch the first one very well. So for me personally, I believe that if you are interested in the research, you can always apply for any stream of research, honestly. So the idea is such that you want to show to the PhD committee, just like Yaya mentioned earlier, that I am the best candidate for this position. Just like everybody want to say that, okay, I am the best for this position. So you want to show in your application, in your proposal, that will in your exam, that will move you towards each stage of the interview, each stage of the application process rather. You want to show at each stage that you are the best. So if you can prove this, fine, the position is yours. So if you can reiterate, if you can ask again your first question, it would be great because I didn't catch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my first question has to do with the gorilla test. I was asking
Okay.
how do we create the account or subscribe to it? The gorilla test.
Samuel, can you drop the link to Test Gorilla? The Gorilla website on the
Okay, I will
message.
drop it right now.
Yeah.
Please, does anyone ask any question apart from Eric? Okay, there is Mahamadou. Please, you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. I have two questions. The first one is, what are the different domains that UM6P offer in terms of PhD? And the second one is, currently I'm doing my master's degree, but I'm not finished yet. So I want to know if I can apply once they launch the application. So these are the two questions I want to know.
Okay.
Maybe my other colleagues can answer about their other department. As far as ABS is concerned, if you will be rounding up your program before the start of the PhD year. Like, I mean, the PhD year is starting year is in October. If your master's program will be completed before October, yes, you can apply and say that in your application process that you are currently rounding up your master's program. And yeah, with that, you can apply. As for the available programs at doctoral program at UM6P, I just shared in the message in the chat box the link to CDoc where you can see all the available program for available doctoral programs. I don't know if Yaya and Safa are concerned, are we or answers to the question as regards whether their department has allowed students who are currently enrolled in a master's program to apply.
I mean, as long as you're graduating this year and you're going to get your master's before the PhD starts, then yes, 100%.
Okay, I think Abbas, you can go. You have a question. Abbas is not here. Okay, probably
I
we can
think
go to
Jonathan was even,
yeah, Jonathan.
he raised his hand
First,
first. So Jonathan, maybe.
Jonathan is first.
Okay, yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Jonathan.
Yes, I want to ask a very critical question here because I'm coming from two different angles. Maybe I will have a better advice for which areas I will apply for because I hold an MBA and a Masters of Science. So I'm just asking if you can give me an advice which school will be more preferable to apply to, sorry, because I'm interested in any area of research as it is for now.
I think Jonathan, it would be a good idea for you to do an exercise of getting to think of what you're actually interested in, because I mean, yeah, it's good to be interested in all sorts of different things, but it's also good to know what you can actually end up working on, especially in the context of a PhD, because it's a 4-year commitment at least. And so I think good idea for you. I can't tell you exactly what you should apply to. Well, you have an MBA, and I could easily just tell you just apply to the business school, but I don't know if that's what you want to do. But so I think a good idea for you is to do an exercise of maybe you can also look at the departments that are there at UM6P, and you can see their PhD offers, and then maybe it will inspire something. But other than that, I would just really recommend doing an exercise of trying to think of what you're really interested in and also what you can actually commit to for the next 4 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, probably just an addition to okay. Yeah, you can go, Doctor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. As an addition, I would say you already know that you want to do a PhD. That's a fact. That's a great start. But now you need to really refine the why, like why you want to do it. Maybe think about your career goals, because actually you need to set this before you start applying. Even during the interviews, you need to convince the jury of the why you are going to do the PhD. So if this is not clear for you from the start, it can even be a barrier for you during the interview. So the advice will be to focus on why you really want to do the PhD. If it is related to for career goals, for sure it is related to career goals. Then you try to define what specifically you want to do with the PhD. Then you'll be able to decide which program to choose. Because as Yaya mentioned, you have 4 years commitment to the program. So yeah, you really need to be sure from the start.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Let me just add a few points there. Actually, my question would be that, what is your strength? So, because if you know what is your strength, it becomes easier for you to navigate in any field that you might eventually decide to be in. I will tell you I will use myself as a case study, and maybe some of my colleagues here has also had the same experience. 6 months into my PhD journey, I wanted to quit because it was a whole lot for me. So if it is not for the tenacity, if it is not for um, some of the reasons why I started in the first place that I had to revisit, maybe I will have quit the PhD. So this is one of the things that you want to consider. What is my strength? So if you are actually doing your PhD eventually in an area, in a field that has your strength in it, it will not be difficult. But imagine you have an MBA and maybe your Masters of Science is in maybe a different area of specialization, and you find yourself in a PhD program that has to do with coding or something like this. So you want to be, excuse me, you want to be very sure that you only focus on something that is your strength. You see what I mean?
Okay, thank you. My areas MBA and telecommunication and computer programming, because I hold three masters, so I think I will focus on the sciences because that's where my strength is.
There you go. That sounds good. Can we move on to the next questions?
Yeah, in the chat, somebody is asking the document for application should be in English, like transcripts of record, or it should be in French.
I think this can be in in French. This can be in French. The transcripts at UM6P can be in French, I think.
Okay. I don't know if this. Okay, Abbas, can you go ahead? Because we want to round up this meeting next 5 minutes. Abbas, are you there?
We can't really hear you. If you can put your questions in the chat. In general, I think it's the better idea to go to it's just for you guys to put the questions in the chat so that we can quickly answer. It's quicker that way. And Abbas, we can't hear you. I can see that your mic is unmuted, but for some reason we still can't hear you.
So, yeah, and Abdullah, somebody want to know what were the questions you were asked during the interview.
Abdullah, you can go first.
Ooh, I really can't remember most of them, but like I said, I had a slide, and my research proposal was around social capital. So the question was around the proposal that I presented, and yeah, there were some funny questions as regards why I didn't continue my PhD at the school where I had my master's. So you see a kind of technical questions like that, like, okay, why did you not want to pick ABS? You did your master's in this school, someone walk you through your master's thesis, and the person is still at the school. So why don't you continue your PhD under this person? So these are the kind of technical questions that came. And eventually, after all, I was given another question as regards the research assignment. So, I mean, the idea is just that I have a research slide, everything based that will come eventually, most of the time. I can say 80% of what you will be asked will be based on what you have presented. That is if you have a slide. But if you don't, yes, they will bombard you with a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to second that again. This is the same scenario that happened last year, but yes, Abdullah says to use the slides because you have control over what gets said and what doesn't get said, and I second that. And in my case, who you're asking me what they asked me in the interview, it was about the presentation. Whatever I presented is what they asked me for, and of course there were some limitations to the things that I presented, and I had no idea what to answer when they asked me the challenging questions. They were like, what you're trying to do is consulting, it's not research. And I was like, you know what, you're maybe right. And I just didn't think it through enough, but I can still rethink it. You know, it's not the end of the world if you get a critique, just acknowledge it and say that there is a way forward. And again, very important to prepare the presentation so that you end up guiding it. I can see, Selma, that you asked the question about what makes, you know, the interview special at SCI. Nothing really special, you know, it's the same. You present and then they ask you questions. The only thing that's special about SCI is that the professors are like super nice. And yes, in general, professors tend to be very nice, but at SCI, they're like extremely nice. And so that's a very good thing because they'll make you feel very safe psychologically and you'll be able to speak very freely, etc. That's it.
Yeah, in general, questions come from what you say during the interview. So, but there are some constant questions. Let's say the motivation, for instance, and career plans. So these are something that can be in any interviews. But the other questions will maybe depend on your own content, the content you have for the interview. So they will come as you speak. So yeah, you just need to be sure that you are prepared for these general questions. You know, so you can practice them in advance, so that if you are asked this question, you can easily answer them. But for the other, the remaining question, they will be like part of the conversation because the interview is a conversation. Keep this in mind. It's not you being judged in front of the jury. It's a conversation to have to see your motivation, why you want to do the PhD, and if you really fit with the program. So that's basically the interview. So keep this in mind and practice the general questions, and for the remaining, that will come in the conversation.
Thank you so much for your questions, for the responses. There are more questions in the chat, but unfortunately, due to time, because we have gone over time, we need to release our speakers to attend to other things. I have
I need to go sleep. Yeah. But I mean, but for really, we can still answer questions in the chat. So, you know, so it's okay. So yeah, we can just write answers in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I believe most of us are on the WhatsApp group because I sent the link, and also the link to ICoRA group has been sent. Questions regarding like SAP plus D and the others can be answered there. We have diverse PhD students, postdoc, master students, bachelor's students on the group, researchers that can answer questions, they share opportunities there. So kindly join the group. And you can always reach out to us via email too for any further inquiry. I want to use this opportunity to thank our speakers, starting from the first speaker, Safa, for letting us know about ICoRA, then to Dr. Yaya Etiabi, who recently graduated from the College of Computing. He's a great teacher. He can teach you very well in any language, French, English, in his local language. So he was once my tutor for machine learning. So very good. Then thanks to Samuel calling Dr. Yaya. Yaya too has taught us very well in class at the School of Collective Intelligence. He's a very good TA. He has a twin. His twin is not here. Then to Abdullah. Abdullah is a sure plug that is always ready to be disturbed by me and anybody that he really loves to mentor people. So thank you all for joining today's webinar. I believe it's quite helpful to me, last year one was very helpful, and I know that this year too will be very helpful for many of us. So thank you. If any of our speaker have maybe the last words to share, you can go ahead, else we end the meeting.
Best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for organizing this, Christian and Samuel. As usual, you guys keep organizing all sorts of events, and thanks for doing it. You're helping a lot of people out. And thanks to everybody who attended, and best of luck. I'm hoping to see you with us at UM6P next year.
Thank you, Christiana. Thank you, Samuel, for organizing this talk. It was very informative. As a speaker, I also learned from my peer speakers, so there always room for learning new things. So thank you, everyone, and best of luck for whoever is applying to the programs.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Yaya, for that. Abdullah, any word, or we end the meeting?
I think I said mine. Say best of luck to all our proposed candidates. We hope to see you, inshallah. And if you have any reason for us to assist you with your application, probably you want your work to be proofread. I mean, I would say that you cannot push us to it, but yeah, you can always send it for review. We will give you our reviews if we are free to do that. So this is a parting thought from me. Thank you very much, Christiana, and Samuel as well. Thank you, and see you guys. Best of luck.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night and good
Thank
weekend.
you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Bye.